How is this Argentina rescue package America first? And is this rescue package meant to help President Milei's party in the coming election?
No, it's really meant to help a good financial philosophy where Argentina can, after 20 years of disaster, because it was very successful at one point, and it can be again.
Okay, so Scott, what do you think of that?
Well, I think you've got a bigger problem. I think somebody needs to ask Argentina what they did with the $18 billion that China gave them in 2009 that they haven't paid back yet. Currently, all we want to do is throw money everywhere at problems instead of actually sit down and try to fix one. If Argentina fails, okay, they're my second biggest competition. If we're going to make American agriculture great and make it stand on its own 2 feet, then I need my second biggest competitor to fail.
10 to 15 billion dollars that's going to the farmers. I think it's stupid. I think all it is a pass-through to get to equipment dealers, to get to manufacturers, chemical, fertilizer. Tariffs have very little to do with our cost of production.
Donald was not going to help you. When he was going to make people rich and lower their taxes, he didn't mean you.
It's an endless cycle that we're caught in right now. And this is all I know. Can't do it any better.
Some of y'all being way too nice to them farmers for me. Those motherfuckers sitting up here talking about, this farm's been in my family for generations. It's all we've ever known. How many generations, sport? Far enough to go back to the early 1900s? Your grandpa's generation? Where you were exploiting poor, desperate people as sharecroppers?
You know, it's crazy how history keeps repeating itself, but now it's just dressed up in suits and politics. 80% of American farmers voted for Donald Trump thinking he was going to ride for them, protect their land, their legacy, their way of life. But now, they're watching that same dream fall apart right in front of them. We talking bankruptcies, foreclosures, suicides, generations of work just wiped out. And guess what? While they losing the farm, literally, Trump just gave bailout money to Argentina, one of our biggest agricultural competitors. Not to help the folks who held him down, but to cut deals overseas. Meanwhile, billionaires like JD Vance are out here buying up the land that was stolen generations ago, and flipping it like a monopoly board. See, this is about power, control, and who really gets to eat. So before you start talking loyalty and patriotism, ask yourself, who's really getting fed and who's being left to starve?
China normally buys more than half of America's soybeans, but has bought none this year amid the ongoing trade war. Gaffner says farmers like himself, who overwhelmingly voted for the president, are caught in the crossfire.
We can't help but feel very anxious of wondering why it's taking so long to get this resolved.
Are you angry?
Well, whenever you see the administration meet in Spain and they talk about TikTok instead of farming, whenever we're getting ready to harvest, our clock is already TikToking away. The farther we go into this season, the more we're going to lose. And China should have been buying our beans already, and they're not. It's like crickets. We don't want the aid, we want the trade.
Gaffner says one-time relief is not a long-term solution.
If China starts buying elsewhere, which they are doing now, once they establish those trade routes, it becomes more difficult for them to come back to the U.S. to buy their commodities. Once we lose that, we may never get it back again. And that's huge for next generations.
It's an endless cycle that we're caught in right now. And this is all I know. Can't do it any better.
Hey, everybody. Well, there it is, folks. Argentina is selling all of their soybeans to China now because of the tariffs that Trump has initiated against other countries. And it's not that Trump has initiated tariffs on soybeans to China or anything like that. It's just China's like, we don't need you. So there it is. $47 billion that would have gone to the 500,000 American soybean farmers are now going to Argentina. Now, American farmers, almost 80% of them voted for Trump. So if you have 500,000 soybean farmers, that means 400,000 of them who are now on the verge of going bankrupt voted for Trump.
10 to 15 billion dollars that's going to the farmers. I think it's stupid. I think all it is a pass-through to get to equipment dealers, to get to manufacturers, chemical, fertilizer. Tariffs have very little to do with our cost of production. We should easily be able to sell $8, $9, $10 beans and make money. Corn, we should easily be able to sell for $3.50, $4 and make money. Here's where I disagree with the 10 to 15 billion dollar bailout that's going to the farmers. Let it work itself out. All this money's going to do is continue to make farmers that have made bad decisions in the past continue to make bad decisions in the future. And any money that the farmer gets, he's simply just going to pass it on. So that's all we are. We're just a passer on this whole deal.
So let me get this straight. Farmers want a bailout of $50+ billion, but their administration, and I say their because most farmers voted for the Trump administration, has now sent $20 billion to their competitor, Argentina, that produces a hell of a lot of soybeans, and that just signed on the dotted line with China to send them their soybeans from Argentina. So as our American market is cut out, half of our market, our soybean market is collapsed, doesn't exist anymore because China said they're not buying soybeans from us. What are we going to do? I mean, we see that we bailed them out in the first administration, and now we're bailing them out again. But that's the same people, the same party that talks about we don't want to do anything with welfare. We want to get rid of welfare. We want to get rid of any kind of handouts, bailouts. But they keep on getting the bailouts. They keep on getting the handouts. They keep on getting the welfare.
How is this Argentina rescue package America first? And is this rescue package meant to help President Milei's party in the coming election?
No, it's really meant to help a good financial philosophy where Argentina can, after 20 years of disaster, because it was very successful at one point, and it can be again.
Okay, so Scott, what do you think of that?
Well, I think you've got a bigger problem. I think somebody needs to ask Argentina what they did with the $18 billion that China gave them in 2009 that they haven't paid back yet. So now in 16 years, Argentina's got $38 billion of money to prop their economy up while it does nothing but knife me at home. They filled my orders in China. They will fill the bean meal orders. I mean, in what world is it good to loan people, the worst person in the world, to pay back money to prop up their economy, to protect hedge funds who are deeply immersed in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange? How is this a good deal for me at all?
What if the administration is giving you and other farmers a bailout? Does that help?
Well, I want trade, not aid. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of boys that's painted in the corner and they're not going to survive without it. But bailing out Argentina doesn't help my market. Sending me the tariff money that me and every other taxpayer in this country is paying for. I buy parts and I buy groceries and I'm paying the tariffs exactly like everybody else is. Sending me that money doesn't fix my problem. I mean, to me, currently all we want to do is throw money everywhere at problems instead of actually sit down and try to fix one. If Argentina fails, okay, they're my second biggest competition. If we're going to make American agriculture great and make it stand on its own 2 feet, then I need my second biggest competitor to fail.
The problem that people don't understand is when they hear that farmers are quote unquote getting bailed out, is that we're never made whole by a government payment. We are never made whole. We're lucky if we get 30 cents on the dollar for a program that is designed to make up for a man-made disaster. This is a man-made disaster caused by this administration. When we have money, we spend it. We buy big ticket items like combines, tractors that are made with American steel, with American jobs. We need farmers to have money again so that people in the Rust Belt states can go back to work. John Deere is laying off people. Case is laying off people. There's no reason for this. This is ridiculous. This is stupid. We need to get back to work, put money back into the American economy, and it starts with American agriculture.
We don't want a bailout. We want a market. Bailouts don't work. Bailouts are band-aids. What he is doing is destroying our markets. And when those markets disappear, we're not going to get them back.
And now we're having trouble selling.
Okay.
So we need those markets back.
I have to ask, where do you stand on the White House's idea of helping farmers with tariff money that is being collected?
That's the most ridiculous thing. Let me explain to you.
Okay.
Or your listeners, excuse me. those tariffs I'm paying on inputs just this spring, and all of our parts, many of our parts come from other countries. All right, just this spring, I go to my local John Deere dealer. I need a chain for my corn planter. I take it out of the box, John Deere box. Dealt with these people for 40 years. John Deere part number. Turn it over. It says made from China. Okay, I'm thinking, wow, that's odd. I just paid a tariff on that doggone thing. So here's the deal. I'm paying that tariff because my importer, John Deere, paid it. They paid it directly to the Treasury. Now the President of the United States is going to take my money and give it back to me and call it a bailout. That's just comical. And I tell you what, this administration has got agriculture, has got farmers exactly where they want them. And that is in need of what only Trump can deliver, and that's a bailout. What a terrible place for agriculture to be. Farmers are independent. They are independent businessmen and women, and they want to live off the land. They're creating income off the land for their communities, and President Trump has them right where he wants them.
These farmers across Wisconsin, these farmers across America, these farmers who are struggling, they have no one to blame but themselves, so I quite frankly really don't give a damn. Because it's your own fault. You decided, yeah, we want to put that guy back in office. Make that make sense. And now here they are, the poor farmers in Arkansas are sitting here crying. You know, I don't know what we're going to do. I know what you should have did. You should have voted for somebody that wasn't going to put tariffs out there. 77% of farming-led counties in the United States of America voted for Donald Trump. 77% of these people voted for a man who said he was going to use tariffs against other countries, knowing it would harm their communities. 77% of these farming counties voted for a man despite the fact that they had to get a farmer bailout the last time for the first trade war. They still voted for Donald Trump. So when I hear that they are struggling in Arkansas, when I hear that they're struggling in Iowa, when I hear that they're struggling in Nebraska, I simply tell them to look in the mirror and stop begging for a damn handout. Maybe it's time to sell the farm. You right. Maybe the 6th or 7th generation won't get it. And what you should do is you should tell your kids who were supposed to be the 7th generation, the mama's a dumbass. That Pawpaw's an idiot. Because Pawpaw decided he wanted to be Make America Great, but meanwhile, the Chinese ain't buying soybeans from us no more because of policies Donald Trump put in. And they voted for it. You don't deserve a bailout. You can't sit here and vote one way, and then when your economy gets decimated, your way of life gets destroyed, you want to pray to God? God didn't tell you to go to that poll and vote against your own best interest. That was your own damn problem. Don't ask for prayer when you block your own blessing.
Some of y'all being way too nice to them farmers for me. Them farmers. Them farmers.
Jacob, how could you say that?
Those motherfuckers sitting up here talking about, this farm's been in my family for generations. It's all we've ever known. How many generations, sport? Far enough to go back to the early 1900s? Your grandpa's generation? Where you were exploiting poor, desperate people as sharecroppers? Where you were exploiting people to work those fucking fields for your fucking grandfather? That far back? To your great-great-grandfather? Back to the 1800s? Did your family put Africans in fucking chains and rape and murder them? How about your great-great-grandpappy? Does it go back to the 1700s? Does it go far enough back that your ancestors were murdering and pillaging and displacing Native Americans? Does it go far enough back to the 1600s? Were your ancestors on them boats that showed up in the Caribbean and raped and murdered and pillaged the fucking Taino population? Does it go far enough back that you could show up to the coast of Central America in the Yucatan, where they were growing sweet potatoes and yucca? How long? How fucking long have you been using your family's money, power, and influence to shit on anyone who isn't you? How far back? Because you want me to be concerned about you while you poison our fucking water with herbicides and pesticides, while you destroy our fucking soil with fucking tractors and combines, while you fucking destroy our fucking ecosystems by fucking erasing natural habitat for our fucking native animals and native plant species. Because you are still doing the exact same thing that your fucking forefathers did. You are still shitting on anyone and everything you can around you in the fucking pursuit of more and more and more fucking wealth. So again, I say f those farmers. Those farmers, f their farms, f their history, f their existence, and f their future. Congrats, bud. You fucking played yourself. Now you're in a fucking muck with the rest of us, you stupid.
I just had a brilliant idea. Instead of all y'all folks spending all your time trash talking me and telling me how horrible of a person I am and all the rest of the farmers are, why don't y'all spend a little time, call your congressmen and your representatives and all that, try to get them folks up there in Washington to open it back up. Open the government back up and get us some kind of trade plan going on so we can get a good market for all of our commodities. We don't want you to come bailouts and socialist stuff. We don't want all that crap, because that's going to go straight to the deadgum chemical and fertilizer dealers and fuel dealers anyway. We just want a good trade deal to where somebody will buy our commodities. That's all we asking for. Instead of spending all your time trash talking me, holler at the people that really can make a difference.
Nah, f them farmers. Like I've said before, you're not going to tell me after you voted the way you voted to then call my congressmen and women and my representatives to try to dig us out of a hole that you buried us in. All these farmers, I guarantee it, 4-1 decided to vote for Donald Trump, even though he absolutely crushed you the first time. And now your soybeans aren't worth a warm pitcher of piss. You guys are struggling so much as crop prices are falling as nobody wants your shit because of all of the tariffs and everything else that he is doing to cripple this economy. And your solution after you sold us out, after you screwed us over is, oh, why don't you call somebody? Why don't you call your representative? For God's sake, I don't know what else you want us to do. You continue to vote against your own best interest, and then you whine and complaining when everybody's on your case, on your back, and you say, well, why don't you do something about it? We did. We tried. And now you are where you are because of how you voted. 3 straight times, I guarantee, you voted for that man, and he has screwed you over so many times that he is going to bury you, and you are going to lose your family farms. So f around and find out, FAFO to the nth degree.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I need you blue state liberals to stop calling the farmers who voted for their own personal financial ruin stupid. It's infantilizing. They aren't stupid. To actually manage a farm effectively requires insane depths of knowledge in math, science, logistics. These people aren't dumb. But what they are learning, for I think in some cases the first time in their lives, is how expensive racism is. They heard Trump loud and clear when he said that he would deport their labor force and that he would tariff essentially all of the inputs they need to run their facilities. And they absolutely heard him when he claimed over and over again that the US gave too much to the world in aid, and therefore those aid streams, which most often include the food these farmers grow, would be cut. They heard it all. They just didn't believe it. They thought this was just Trump 1.0, and there would be enough adults in the room to say, hey, this is reckless. We can't do this because it will dismantle the economy. Yeah, a lot of farmers were hurt during the first Trump administration. Thanks to his reckless trade wars, particularly with China, a lot of them went bankrupt. And the bailouts that originally happened under Trump's first term didn't mostly even go to these small-scale farmers. It ended up going to big agribusiness. And I have a feeling, if past is prologue, we're going to see that happen again if bailouts happen at all. Because the reality is these people do not actually want to save these small-scale farms. People in this admin, like JD Vance, very specifically invested in things like Acre Trader. Their goal is for these farmers to go bankrupt so that they can consolidate, buy up huge swaths of their land, and make a fortune. So I'm not going to lie to you, there is very little incentive for anybody in this administration to actually give these farmers a bailout, no matter how angry and white and male they are. I doubt there are any farmers listening to this at the moment, but the billionaires do not care about you. They actually just want to take your stuff. So even if a bailout does come, and I doubt an effective one will, But if it does, it is going to be meager enough to keep these people in dire financial straits. Because the goal of a lot of these billionaires and investment firms is to make them desperate enough to sell. So you can say goodbye to small-scale family farms, that's for sure. What's kind of funny about this is that Let's Go Brandon tried to bail you out for real. And that's probably the last time anyone will, so.
JD Vance wants U.S. farmers to go bankrupt. Let me explain. The vice president is invested in a company called Acre Trader. Think of Acre Trader as the equivalent of buying stock in a company. Instead of buying one condo, you invest in a company that owns 200. This company profits off of selling farmland to investors through shady LLCs. Of course, the problem with LLCs is you don't necessarily know who owns the farmland, including whether or not there are ethical dilemmas. When you're looking to buy a stock, what do? You buy low and sell high, and that's exactly what's happening with Acre Trader. Acre Trader is buying up property that goes into bankruptcy, farmers who are losing their livelihoods after generations. Now, if you wanted to buy cheap property, what would you do? Perhaps create tariffs that put undue burden on farmers that might cause them to go into bankruptcy? Just a thought. Yet somehow a vast majority of farmers in the United States voted for Donald Trump and JD Vance.
Have you heard the farmers out there crying about their going bankrupt and Trump needs to do something and all of this rhetoric? Well, in my opinion, they are getting exactly what they deserve. And why do I say that? Because you voted for this when he told you he was going to do this. But in the beginning, do the farmers remember when I talked about the big, beautiful bill and all the tariffs and all of that, and all they kept coming back and saying, it's just the beginning. You got to give it time. I think we're 9 months in. Time is not on your side, is it?
So Jack Daniels just told farmers in Tennessee they've got to pull themselves up by their bootstraps while they sip whiskey off their pain. So here's the deal. So for years, the Jack Daniels Company had this agreement with the farmers of Moore County, Tennessee. Farmers raise cows and Jack Daniels makes whiskey. Everybody wins, right? Because see, after you distill all that liquor, you wind up with all this waste, this grain waste that they call slop. Now, instead of just throwing it away, Jack Daniels used to give it to farmers for free or like really dirt cheap. Farmers fed their cows, Jack Daniels got rid of the waste, and everybody was winning. But as of March 31st this year, all that's done. Now it got pulled because Jack Daniels has started using this new, what do they call it here? An anaerobic digester facility. So basically it needs constant grain and it eats the leftover grain for energy. So there is no waste, which means there's no more slop left for the farmers. So now they're all scrambling to find a way to feed these animals because in a market where everything has gone up, even feed has too. Now the craziest part of this is the government isn't stepping in to help this time. Farmers being told, figure it out. You're on your own, which is wild because farmers are used to getting government handouts, but this time it ain't coming. Well, this is the America you voted for. Big corporations changed the rules, cut the little guy out. And the people in power are just gonna shrug like it's not their problem. Elections have consequences, and not just for you, but for your cows too. The next time you pour up a glass of Jack Daniels, don't forget, somebody's cows went hungry so the distillery could save a buck. Cheers to that, America.
So that's what we got for American farmers, is zero empathy. We want them to fail. That's what you're saying out there. That's what Americans are saying right now.
Yes, that's what we're saying right now.
Well, next time you'll vote the right way, or that's what you get for who you voted for.
Yeah, that's the way you voted. That's the around and find out.
Doesn't sound very American of people, but here lately, that's all we're doing is complaining.
You voted for a con man? A felon? I don't know what to tell you.
is an American business to fail. I don't know how much more we're going to see for the next 3 or 4 years. Last thing I want is an American farmer to go under because us as Americans didn't want to do anything to support them. I don't care what side of the fence you're sitting on in this. The last thing we need is our land to be gobbled up by our corporate people to lease it out to another country so that they can come in and do what they want on the soil. Think about it, people.
So if you could change back time, would you still vote for him? Because Kamala was going to help you guys. Donald was not going to help you. When he was going to make people rich and lower their taxes, he didn't mean you.